Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and we got a great guest for you this evening. Don't we, Dennis?
We sure do, Susan.
And we're very pleased. We have Jennifer Croughwell from Eastern Connecticut State University, and she is the student Democrat leader, not only for Eastern, not only for UConn, but for the entire state. Plus, she has other connections with doing this work nationally as well. So welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about how you got to do this.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I originally got started at Eastern because my mom's an Eastern alum, so that's why I'm attending Eastern at the moment. Studying political science and sociology with a minor in pre-law. And, you know, when I first got there, I kind of didn't know what I was going to do. I was actually originally a health sciences major, fun fact, but then shortly realized that health sciences is not for me, and I'm going to leave that up to the professionals, and I'm going to go do my own thing in the politics world. I shortly found out I found a great group of people there, a lot of great students who are already interested in politics. One special person that I found was Grace Carlos. She helped me kind of get involved and actually start the College Democrats chapter that is at Eastern now. It kind of died down a little bit in between the elections, but we're glad that we got it ramped back up for 2022 in the gubernatorial race, and now again for the presidential. So, it started off by a kind of a request from the governor, I would say, but he wanted to make sure there was a College Democrat student organization there at Eastern. We had our great first opening event with him and everyone on the ballot that was there that year. It was a great event. A lot of students came out. Great first event just to kind of get our names out there, but also make sure that we got Democrats up and down the ballot elected. And then after that, I shortly got into College Democrats of Connecticut. College Democrats of Connecticut did exist before, but now it died again because of COVID. So trying to get that back up again. A group of students from various schools across Eastern, we got together and started meeting and building back Connecticut where it is today. This was our first year for College Democrats of Connecticut to do endorsements. So we're still accepting endorsements. So if you're running for office out there and you need an endorsement from College Democrats, let us know. We have a Instagram, a website. There's ways to find us out there. So that's something you need, but. So yeah, we did our first round of endorsements for state representatives and state senators this year. Obviously, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for the highest office. We got great Senator Chris Murphy up for election this year. We have, and at least in my district, we have Representative Joe Courtney, and then also across the state we have Representative Johanna Hayes. So. It's been great getting involved in College Democrats. We're having a lot of events this year for Eastern students, not only just to get them out and involved, but also having some really great speakers, hopefully like yourself, Susan.
Okay, I'll be there.
So, yeah. Dennis, you can come too. Don't worry. We won't leave him out,
No, he's got to come and talk.
He
loves to talk.
But, sometimes the younger people don't want to listen to somebody my age.
Oh, now.
I have a lot to say.
Yes, you do.
Anyway, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't want to break in, Susan, but I hate to do
yes,
that.
you do.
I looked up I always prepare for these shows, and even though I know Jennifer quite well, Jennifer is also, I'm proud to say, a member of the Windham Democratic Town Committee. And, I think that's terrific. She's been a very active member, and we need younger people involved in local politics, state politics, everywhere. The next generation, because, those of us who are older are not going to be around forever. And sometimes when we get older, we get slowed down a little bit. But Jennifer is a member of the Democratic Town Committee in Windham. You are also, based on what I read on the website for the State College Democrats, you are called Chief of Staff. That sounds really important.
Yeah, so I want to say like maybe it was 2-3 years ago now. I was the chief of staff for College Democrats of America. That was an amazing experience.
Oh, wow.
I was not elected to that position, but I was chosen to be in that appointed position. Now I'm actually serving in an elected position called National Council Chair. I've been doing that for the past year, I would say. We're wrapping up just on a year this August. So yes, over a year now. It was a position that came to me kind of in an interesting circumstance. I wasn't really going to plan on running, but then someone asked me, and I said, sure, I would love to get as involved as I can in this position. So basically, that means I oversee all of the states for College Democrats. We have meetings monthly. We have great speakers. We actually hosted Representative Joe Courtney once. That was an amazing talk, and we have speakers from all over the country. Not too long ago we had Representative Maxwell Frost, who is a great Gen Z representative in the Congress, and we have. It was just an amazing experience, and I love College Democrats of America and all the work they do for our states, and that's why I have such a great relationship with every single president in every state. It's always a great time over there.
I didn't know about your involvement in College Democrats of America. Wow.
Yes.
Big league.
That is great. I knew that she was going all over the country and doing this and going to Washington, D.C. and meeting. And so she has really been focused and interested. And so we are so happy that she's at Eastern Connecticut State University and she is a member of our Democratic Town Committee because and she's also working on a campaign in the corner there. Are you?
Yeah.
You're someone who is working on a campaign, which is a fabulous thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm working for Renee LaPalme Waldron. She's in the 51st District, so that's Putnam, Thompson, and North Killingly. For anybody who doesn't know all the numbers that exist in the great state of Connecticut. But, I was also honored to be her campaign manager for this legislative session. She's a great candidate. She has a lot of great experience. And, it's a great time to flip this seat. It's an open seat election. And we want to make sure that we get Democrats not only elected at the top of the ticket, but at the bottom of the ticket where it actually is going to matter most to folks. The bottom of the ticket is so important because that's where everything gets done.
That's right.
It's going to affect your day-to-day. As much as I love my Kamala Harris, my Tim Walz, they only affect me in such a way, but we want to make sure that we get to the bottom of the ticket, especially.
I think your point is well taken. On the other hand, presidential election can be very, very critically important.
Yes, it can.
Especially when you have candidates like you have right now. When you have somebody who's very extreme on one side, and it is kind of scary, and so it is important. But normally people stay within the mainstream in terms of their views, at that level, and you're getting around so much. We're going to talk a little bit more about your tremendous benefit you got for your young political career to go to the national convention when it was more. Are you asking to cut me off?
Yes, I am. Yeah, because I wanted to finish up the conversation before we went to the national convention. So I just wanted to actually say that her point is very well taken because a lot of the work that's done on a local level has some of the biggest impact on the people. That's all. I'm not going to contradict you with respect to the presidential race because it is probably the most intense and different type of presidential race we've ever had. And, of course, lots of things that we wouldn't expect normally in a presidential race, in this particular race, will have a huge impact on the local communities all over the country.
And the whole world.
In the world, yes, thank you.
Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and you go right ahead, Susan.
No, it's up to you now. I just wanted...
I wanted to ask you, I knew you didn't grow up in Wyndham. Okay, so you went to school in...
Lisbon.
Okay. And were you involved at all in politics there?
No, not really. I lived in Lisbon and I went to school at Norwich Free Academy, but I was not very active in politics. I will say I did join my NAACP in Norwich. They had a youth kind of organization there, and that's kind of how I first got introduced in politics, was especially in high school. I took one sociology class and, found out the kind of the cycle of poverty and how that affects this grandiose idea of everyday Americans struggling to live just because of the color of their skin. And so I kind of took that and I ran with it, and I said, this is not something I'm going to stand for. And then we also had Donald Trump in the mix coming in 2016. So I was like, okay, this guy's kind of crazy, gal. His ideas are weird and they're not good for my friends. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to stand up and do something about it. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I think he was the first president who tried to generate a coup, which included breaking into the U.S. Capitol, and if that happened in another country, he would have been treated with kid gloves, or neither would the people who did it. That's a very serious thing. I remember watching that I work at home, so I happened to see it on television, and my eyes were bugging out of my head. I said, I don't believe this. I don't believe people had the nerve to break windows in the United States Capitol and go in there and run around and do all kinds of uncivilized things. So that's pretty unusual. Anyway, so you got involved in politics later, sort of later on, but so did I. The only thing I did when I was young was because I had an Irish Catholic father and grandfather, and my grandfather's name was Pat O'Brien, and he was very much excited about Jack Kennedy running for president. For one thing, he was the first Roman Catholic who really had a chance. I think a guy named Al Smith had run earlier in the century, but he didn't have much of a chance. And he was elected, of course, and of course then the rest is history. But so I did. I was a teenager. I wasn't old enough to vote because you got to be 21 back then, not 18. And I went around and handed out flyers. Which in a presidential race back then was probably a lot more important than it is now, because the presidential races now are really, the campaigns really focus on the media, the mass media, which we didn't have back then.
Well, I want to interrupt now because I think that the mass media is certainly one of the instigators for how the presidential races go. On the other hand, things have changed so much too because of sense of community. And if you have a sense of community where you're living, where you're going to school, that sense of community can be very, very influential. So one of the things that we try to do here on WILI is trying to continue that sense of community, because here we have a radio station that's local. Many communities don't have that. We have a local paper as well. We have things that other towns don't have, and we want to reach out and create community with the university, with all the different parts of Windham that are all kind of split up. And we want to try and make sure we connect with everybody. So that sense of community is important. So in some ways, we need to get back to the way it was before the manufacturing was gobbled up and sent overseas and took away that sense of economy where people were working together and going to church together and those kinds of things. We want to take care of that and get back, find those new paths for having that sense of community. And I know that this radio station is working very hard at that. So I did want to say that. And I know you are, Jennifer, as well, with your work at the university. And I just want to say thank you for inviting me the other day to the event that you had. Tell us a little bit about how that went. And I was just very pleased to be there going around handing out my walk cards. So,
yeah. So every year Eastern has a club fair with all of the clubs that kind of are at Eastern, so all of the transfers or first years can come and see what Eastern's all about. College Democrats always has a table every year since we started back up, and this time I thought it'd be great to invite my local state representatives and state senator to make sure that students knew who they were, first of all. Sometimes, students get caught up in moving and school. It gets really busy, but they don't come to think about, oh, I'm moving into a new community, and maybe there's some people that can help me along the way. So, made sure they were there. They're both up for re-election this year, so make sure you go vote for Susan and go vote for May Flexer. Obviously, I'm very, very biased here.
I appreciate that.
So, and then we had other, walk cards like Joe Courtney's walk card and Senator Murphy's walk card. It was a great event. Got a lot of new signups for college Democrats at Eastern, and it was a great year because a lot of students are actually really interested in this election. It's the first election that I feel students have seen that's accessible to them. It's kind of, it's kind of fun. They're getting, their Brat Summer in, and, now we're going to go out and vote in November.
Oh, tell us about Brat.
Brat Summer?
Yes.
Summer is an idea kind of constructed by Charlie XCX, who is a singer. She's very, very popular, I presume, and she made a great album called Brat, and now it's called Brat Summer because that's when it came out, and it came out in the summertime. And Kamala Harris as headquarter social media kind of leaned into that aesthetic, and it kind of made a little fun within the Gen Z kind of folks. So
cool. That's kind of like the way you got to have fun, but at the same time, because this is such a very different election. I mean, there are incredible extremes, and I'm sure you're aware of the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, which is just completely dismantle our democracy. Is that something the college Democrats are talking about?
Oh, 100%. There's that great idea. Apparently, this weird idea that. That he wants to get rid of the Department of Education, and I'm like sitting over here. I'm like, I'm a college student. We kind of need them. We kind of need them to make sure that our education system, not only at the college level, but all the way down to preschool and kindergarten, is functioning well. That is, students are the future of our lives. They are going to be the ones who are eventually going to be in the power. Some of us already are. Some of us are already running for state representative or state senator or what have you. So, making sure that everyone is getting a great education. And, there's other dangerous ideas. Me being a woman, there's a lot of my rights being taken away just in that very large document that is just so dangerously weird, and we're like, over here at College Dems, we're telling everybody, all our friends, we're like, have you heard about this weird thing that Donald Trump's trying to do? And they're like, no. And then we're like, well, he's trying to take away all of your rights and make sure your lives are really not normal at all. So, making sure that people understand the stakes at this election this November. It's going to be a big one. So
I'm glad you mentioned the rights of women, because the focus seems to be to take away women's rights, to keep them away from being able to manage their own health care. And a lot of times people don't think of reproductive care as a health care situation. And I think that that's kind of strange, since since reproductive care is definitely part of health care, and it's how the little ones get here, and historically, women have died in labor. Women still do die more here in this country in labor than any other industrialized nation in the world. So for us to try and take those rights away will really put women in a really horrible situation, as we've been learning about, where those rights have been taken away in places like Texas and Alabama. Those southern red states have taken those rights away, and women have suffered horrible physiological impacts on their bodies. They've lost their babies or the right to be able to reproduce again, because the health care that they got was so limited that they lost their reproductive rights, even though they wanted to have another child. So it is a very, very dangerous situation for women. We'll lose more women's lives.
Agreed.
So it's and it's not just that women would be focused on this. Their spouses, their children, males are focused on this as well. They don't want this to happen to their wives, or kids don't want this to happen to their moms if they're about to get a brother or sister. It's a really scary situation. It's been created by Donald Trump and his appointments to the United States Supreme Court, saying that it should go back to the states, and the states are not taking good care of the people in those circumstances. State like Connecticut is. We've got some very excellent laws here, and we are looking at making sure that we maintain those laws. So you want to make sure that kind of thing doesn't occur in Connecticut. But there are other things, too, where we will be losing our rights in terms of voting, which has already been allowed by the United States Supreme Court. Voting rights for people have been very, very limited. It used to be where they would have to oversee the changes in voting places and that kind of thing if a state actually did those changes, or reapportionment changes, and that was taken out of the Civil Rights Act by Justice Roberts back in 2014. So that is another problem that will be enforced and will be taken all over the country. Voting rights will be even more severely limited in all over the country and all over all the states.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I kind of want to reiterate why this election is just so important. We're even seeing that happening now. A lot of red states, especially, there you have to make sure your voter registration is still there. They are taking away people's voter registration, so make sure your voter registration is all set and all good to go. Even though, tell your friends. I know we live in a great state called Connecticut, and they aren't really doing that type of thing around here. But if you have any friends in Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, any of those very red states, make sure that they're registered to vote and that they're good to go when it comes to election day. All of those online voter registration dates are coming up, so make sure you check on your friends and make sure that they're registered to vote and they know what's at stake at this election. So
that's very important for your position at the college and for all the college students, because they come here from some of the red states to learn. And so I met some of the people from Georgia and some other southern states that were at Eastern Connecticut State University when I was at your event. And I was really pleased to meet them. But that is one of the things they were talking about. Oh, I have to get an absentee application and ballot, and get that sent to me, and we have to do it soon. And I said, well, every state is different, so how they do those things.
Yeah. So our first couple events for College Democrats, at least at Eastern, is going to be making sure that voter registration is up to date, making sure that all of the students that are coming in, even if they're freshmen or they're going to be 18 by election day, making sure that they're registered to vote. And then also we have a lot of, students who come from elsewhere, and making sure that they have their absentee ballot and how to get that absentee ballot. It's very important to make sure that, you do that as soon as possible and make sure you get it ahead of time. So that's what we're going to be doing over at Eastern.
Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to talk a little bit about the convention and how you got interested in going to that.
Yeah. So I first had to get elected. So how you get elected is you go to this meeting. You send your name in, and you'll go to this meeting so I got put in my hat for a district delegate spot. I was elected in the 2nd Congressional District, as that's my district, as I live in Windham. So there was 4 spots for women identifying folks and 4 spots for men identifying folks, and you go in and you see if you can get elected. Luckily I did, thanks to my help over here with Dennis. He came to me and helped me get elected. A little, yeah. No, he was great. He smoothed me up with all his friends that he knew and made sure that I got the votes that I needed.
Old timers.
Yeah. So it was a great. That was a great time. We had pizza there. So.
I was delighted.
If there's food there,
I was so
you know,
delighted
man.
that you won because I thought, it's your first time trying that, and I know a lot of people that have tried that and have failed, and it's just not that easy. And one thing that I wanted to say about being involved in politics today as a person who works on elections, a person who works on educating voters and whatnot. There's fewer and fewer of them as time goes by because a lot of it involves volunteer work. And in this day and age, where people are so busy just trying to get their educations, or trades, trying to earn a living, people can't find time for it. And if you those of us who are willing to spend the time, I found this out when I started spending a lot of time on it, and I was a lot older than you are now when I did. I was in my early 40s, but when I did, I realized that somebody who had the energy and the understanding. I was a political science major, just like you, although there was an awful lot I didn't learn in school about politics the way it really works. And you can really make a difference in a big way by getting involved in political advocacy. And so you know that by now, but I'm just telling our listeners that it is something that young folks today. And it's always been this way, but I didn't know it until I got older. And Susan and I both got involved around the same time. And I had no idea how effective that we could be by working hard and getting to know a lot of people. On top of that, it's fun. It's fun to meet all these wonderful people. And when you get to know people, most people are pretty nice. And you just have to get to know them. That's why I'm a big advocate for all kinds of integration of all kinds. I think people really need to sit down and talk and chat and just really realize that, hey, you're a lot like I am. You have the same struggles that I have. Everybody struggles. Life is not easy. It's wonderful, but it sure as heck isn't easy. But getting involved in politics, and it was so great pleasure to me, being as old as I am, to see somebody like you getting so involved at such a young age and doing it so well. I was delighted when you got voted to go to the convention. Something I never had a chance to do, something I never tried to do, but you did it. And we're going to come back after the break, and we're going to talk about your experiences because I know I want to hear all about it, and I think our listeners will too. You went to Chicago. That's amazing. A big deal.
Oh yeah.
This is Dennis O'Brien. I'm here with Susan Johnson and Jennifer Croughwell, and we will be right back with Matt Rupar as well, our wonderful producer, right after these messages from our wonderful sponsors, especially the people from Gates. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest this evening, Jennifer Croughwell from Eastern Connecticut State University, who attended the Democratic National Convention this time. So we're about ready. We're on the verge to discuss your experience. Yes.
Talk about it. We want to know what you did.
What happened? Yeah.
Step by step, day by day, hour by hour.
Okay. You got it. You got
whatever you think what you think is important for our listeners to hear.
Oh, yeah. So,
and including us.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. I'm very thankful for the experience I was elected to do. I believe I represented my second congressional district very well. I got the honor to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as a delegate. It was a weird experience. When I was elected into this position, we presumed it was going to be President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, but Joe Biden decided to step down, and I want to thank him for his efforts. I think he did a great job as a president. The Inflation Reduction Act wasn't a great piece of legislation that would only be there because of him, and he has dealt with so many issues and has been very successful at them. And so I just want to thank him for his efforts being president for his term. But I'm also thankful for his great sacrifice for our country and stepping down and letting Vice President Kamala Harris come and be the top of the ticket. And I think every student is going to say thank you to that because, we are very excited for Vice President Kamala Harris. She has done great things not only in her vice presidency, but now I know she's going to do things great as if she's a president. Once she gets elected, and November, and then and inaugurated in January. But back to the convention talk, there's a lot of great speakers there. We first we heard from Joe Biden himself. Had a great time there, and heard from Hillary Clinton as well. She's a great and amazing speaker, and we thank her for her kind of her way in 2016 when she ran against Donald Trump and unfortunately lost the electoral, not the popular. So let's keep that in mind, folks. So yeah, it was.
You want to focus just for a second on the Electoral College, because I think it's a really important thing to understand, and I think it gets passed over a lot of the time. That while the popular vote is incredibly important, and not to give up on going to vote just because of the Electoral College, the Electoral College is the ultimate decider in terms of once the popular vote is counted in the particular state. So it is really very, very important to get to the 270 Electoral College votes, but the only way we can do that is with the turnout. And so the other thing to keep in mind is I don't think the Republicans have won the popular vote for the last several elections. Even when they won the Electoral College, they didn't win the popular vote. And that is why the Supreme Court is such a lopsided court right now. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But, your talk about we watched the convention too, right, Dennis?
Parts of it.
Yeah, and we saw Joe Biden, and he did an excellent job with his speech. And, I mean, the speeches were very, very compelling and great. But to be there in that atmosphere, tell us some more.
Yeah, every speaker was amazing, but also just kind of getting to know every student from across. We got a ton of college Democrats there. I want to say over 1,000 young Democrats, were elected to be delegates. We had there was trainings there. There was people we can connect with almost every day. Being in that atmosphere, it's just so inspiring. You're just like right after that, you're ready to work. You're ready to get on the boots, knock some doors, make some phone calls. Raise some money for your local candidates, and do whatever you need to do to make sure that Democrats up and down the ballot are elected. Even though we live in Connecticut, it's typically a blue state, but you need to make sure you go out and vote for your local candidates down there at the bottom of the ballot. But it was a great experience throughout. I know I will take all of this information that I've absorbed, all of these connections that I've made, and make sure I bring it back to Connecticut and kind of, transfer this inspiration that I got from being there to my other, folks that, at the DTCs that I go to, and, going back to my job as a campaign manager and things like that. So, yeah,
that's great. And so tell us a little bit about, there had to be some before and after, like a breakfast, and sometimes there's convention talk at these breakfasts or the dinner or after the convention, some get-togethers. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah. So, we have breakfast bright and early at 7 a.m. Got to get your credentials and things like that. And then you go to your day-to-day, which is going to be your kind of whatever's at your caucus meetings and things like that. We had some great caucus meetings. I went to women's caucus, went to youth caucus. Both times Tim Walz made an appearance, so that was an amazing, and the energy in there is just when they come out and they start having these amazing speakers. You're just like, all right, I need to get up and I need to wave some signs. I need to wave my American flag. That was my favorite part, is when I'm in the convention arena and I'm waving that American flag. I felt the most patriotic in that moment I felt in my entire 20 years of life. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's fabulous. Wonderful.
I would imagine, never having been there, although I did shake hands with President Clinton before he was elected and then after. In fact, I came back to town that day and I told somebody that I had shook hands with President Clinton, and I was kind of starstruck by it. And the guy says to me, well, he says, what is that, the most important thing that's ever happened to you in your life? I said, why, you son of a gun. Wise guy. Some wise guy who just didn't, Just being a wise guy.
Yeah, no.
And you know what? It was so cool. We were at the airport when he came in, and Susan.
Yeah, I was
go
taking
ahead,
a picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes in. So after he was elected, he came to Norwich, and so we were there at the airport down in Groton.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, he was there, and I was taking a picture of him, and he was holding still, and then he turned around and looked at me. He said, "Did you get your picture?"
Yeah.
I thought that was so
That's so
cool.
funny.
It was really cool.
And then I was next to her and I shook hands with him, and
Yeah.
and he was, we saw him at NFA, and it wasn't not a large crowd.
No.
Leslie was Joe Courtney's campaign manager.
No, it was Sam Gadenson.
Sam Gadenson. I'm sorry, Sam Gadenson's
Yeah.
Congressman Gadenson's campaign manager at the time.
Yeah.
So we were lucky, and then when we went out, there was a big crowd outside that couldn't get in because NFA. You went to NFA.
Yep.
It's beautiful. But,
Beautiful auditorium.
can only accommodate so many people
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that. So there were a lot of people outside, and we were right behind him when he walked outside. And when he walked outside, I mean, people were just swarming all over him, and you could see, what an extrovert he is. He was just eating it up. I mean, he loved it, and they had
Yeah.
his people had to pull him away because he would have done it all day. I mean, he just so loved it. And my feeling always has been, in order to be good at politics, although Richard Nixon wasn't like that, you have to be a little bit, at least, extroverted. It really helps if you really like being around people. And boy, did Clinton really like being around people. He was great. So that was exciting. I mean, and I don't know. Did you met Obama, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, when I chaired the Public Health Committee, it was during the horrible tragedy of Sandy Hook, and we had passed a number of pieces of legislation to limit the machine AR-15 type machine guns. We limited the number of bullets that you could have in a magazine to 10, and we limited who could buy them. We made sure they were registered. We took a look at the firearms panel that made when the police say you shouldn't have a permit, you can appeal. No, they only had people from the NRA on that thing before. We required that they also put psychiatrists and lawyers on there so that there would be, some more balanced observation about whether or not someone could have a gun permit. We also did the red letter type warning if somebody was a domestic violence person or something like that, they would have to go through more analysis before they could get the gun permit. In any event, Obama was so thankful for legislators that all over the country that did something after Sandy Hook, that horrible tragedy of Sandy Hook, that he invited us all down to meet him. And so, since I chaired the Public Health Committee, then I was just taken aback by meeting Obama. It's just something about meeting somebody who cares that much about the people, has worked so hard for the people, to be able to sit down and listen to his thoughts about what we need to do with, making sure people are safe, making sure our students are safe. And we just had a recent school shooting this last week in Georgia. It's a horrible thing that we're allowing this country. We're the only country on earth that allows it. Nobody else allows this stuff, and it's only to create chaos and make sure people don't understand why this is happening, and make sure that they can show that the government isn't effective. And it's been a huge fight to stop the government from working and hurt our democracy. So that's the ultimate reason that there's been this fight. But I think as we move forward, we're going to have a better chance. Connecticut did a good job after Sandy Hook. I know we could do a little bit more. And I'm hoping that we'll see better results all over the country as time moves on.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm more the politician than I am the policymaker. So with me, it's all about winning elections and getting the vote out and stuff like that. But what you did going to the national convention, you had both. You're meeting all these people that you see on television all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they're all over the place, and you're going, wow. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
It's got to be. And
Yeah.
it's, it's exciting because you know enough now because you've been involved for a while how hard it is to get where these people got. It's not easy.
No.
So they're they deserve lots and lots of respect.
Oh,
no
yeah.
question.
100%.
Yep.
Throughout the entire convention, I was a couple of nights I was lucky enough to sit next to Johanna Hayes. So that was
cool.
It was a crazy experience. I'm like, I got my congresswoman right here, and I'm watching Barack Obama speak right over there.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Wow.
What is life right now? What is happening? How did I get here?
Yeah.
I
I don't want to go back to school. This is real life.
I know it was the week before school, so I'm like, I'm gonna tell everybody, what's the best thing you did over the summer? Oh, well, guess what? I went to the convention. Honestly, it's just it's been a great experience, and also now I'm bringing that experience back, and I'm writing. I wrote an article for they send out articles for things that students do over the summer, and I sent it to my department head, and he's looking it over, and we're gonna put that out to all the political science students, and then hopefully I'll get it in the newspaper for the school, and get that good to go. But yeah.
I would hope so.
Well, I would think that you would send it to me as well, and I'll blast it on my website.
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
I'd be glad to do that. I mean, we'll blast this show on the website, but if you have something that comes out about this later on, send it to me, and I'll be glad to include it in my weekly blast, because I blast everything on a weekly basis, because I have the show on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then whatever else happens in town, I put that in there if I can, and if I have a picture or something like that, and that's what we do. But it's good it gets that sense of people here can sign up for the e-blasts that I have. They can sign up for my, whatever I'm doing and find out, and then they can give me feedback on it, because sometimes people, it hits some idea that people have, and they want to know more about what I have to say about a particular issue, and I'm glad to get back to people that way too. Whatever we can do to connect is really what is important, so that we're not thought of as just being there. No, we're there. We want to talk to the people. We want to know what they're thinking.
Yeah. This is a community, and I think that's what I found great about Willimantic is that's kind of why I joined my DTC. It was municipal election year, so I was like, let me help some Democrats get elected. This is going to be my mayor and everyone down ballot, and these are the things that affect me the most, especially when I'm at Eastern. So wanted to make sure I got involved, and shortly thereafter I joined the DTC, and that's been great from every moment that we've had together. And yeah, it's important to get involved in your community, whether that be joining a DTC or just knocking some doors, whatever works for you. And we love having everybody.
Yes, we do. We love to have the people, and we love to connect with everyone. And I'm absolutely thrilled that we have this connection with you at Eastern Connecticut State University. This is, I think, the most connection we've had with the university since I went to college at Eastern Connecticut State University back in the day, but I wasn't really involved in politics. But anyway, I'll give you the last word.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, make sure you go out and vote. Make sure you join your local DTC, your local college Democrats, your local Young Democrats, whatever that might look like in your town. Make sure you check your voter registration. Make sure you go out to vote. Every Democrat down ballot is going to be very important this election. So we thank you for listening to me and me blabbering, and I always love hearing from Susan and Dennis every Friday at 5 p.m. So
Thank you so much, Jennifer Croughwell. Thank you so much. A leader at Eastern Connecticut State University for Student Democrats, and so many other places all throughout the country. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.